So we already looked at the TCL 10 Pro. In today's video, we're going to take a look at the TCL 10L. This one's only $250 versus $450. This one's got a 6.53-inch screen at full HD, 1080p resolution. It's got a Snapdragon 665 octa-core processor. It's got 64 gigabytes of storage, expandable up to 256 gigabytes. It's got 4 cameras on the back with dual LED flash. It's got a 48 megapixel main camera, 8 megapixel super wide angle, a 2 megapixel macro, and a 2 megapixel depth lens. It's also got a 16 megapixel front facing camera and a 4000 milliamp hour battery. It also has a fingerprint sensor on the back, but you can also unlock this one with Face Unlock. I want to thank TCL for sending this over for me to review on the channel. I'll leave a link in the description below with current pricing and more information. SIM and micro SD card ejection tool. Good thing is this one does come with a case. Safety and precautions and quick start guide. I don't think this one has fast charging, but it says it takes 2.5 hours to charge. USB-C charging cable and charging brick. Looks like they've got that super shiny plastic on the back. You can see the 4 cameras on the back with a flash on each side and the fingerprint scanner right below it. Nice thing is this one actually does have a headphone jack. On the bottom you've got your USB-C charging port and what looks like to be 2 speakers. It's actually just 1 speaker to the side and the other one's just for looks, I guess, because there's no sound that actually comes out of it. The weird thing is this phone is actually bigger than the 10 Pro. Usually it's the other way around. You can see it's a little bit taller than the 10 Pro and maybe just a hair wider. Power and volume buttons, they're on the right hand side. The front facing camera is a hole punch style up in the left hand corner. This one doesn't have quite the edge to edge display as the 10 Pro. Similar to the 10 Pro, it also has a smart key on the left hand side, which you can use for Google Assistant, or you can modify it within the settings. And then you've also got your SIM card and micro SD card tray. Okay, so I definitely like the wallpaper on here. That looks kind of nice. If you're not familiar with these new devices by TCL, they sort of have a stock Android look and feel to them, but with a few more customizations. So far I'm using 21% of the 64 gigabytes available. Screen resolution is 1080 by 2340 and it's on March 1 security patch. And you can see it is on Android 10. I actually like the fingerprint scanner on this one better than on the 10 Pro just because it's a physical one versus built into the screen, which can be a little finicky and sometimes slower than the physical scanners. Just like the 10 Pro, they make it so you can just swipe down to get your notifications. And then once you swipe up to access all your apps, they give you a lot of different options to sort it. You can see there are a few extra apps here besides the basic ones. Nice thing is if you don't want some of the apps that are pre-installed, like Facebook, you can uninstall some of those. One thing I do notice is the screen seems a little more blue versus a little more yellow on the 10 Pro. This does have a few gestures you can choose from, such as flip to mute, 3-finger screenshot, split screen gesture, and then you can also do the quick launch camera, where you press the power button twice, or you can do tap to wake, or you can double tap anywhere on the screen. Smart key on the left hand side here lets you choose between a few different things. You can do single press, double press, or long press, and then you can customize what it's going to do for each of those. We don't have anything open, but you can see it's got about 3 gigabytes available out of the 6 gigabytes of RAM. Up in the notifications, you do have NFC, screenshot, cast, and then you've also got a flashlight, Bluetooth, eye comfort mode. It's also got screen recorder. You can switch to dark mode, battery saver, data saver, one-handed mode. Then you've also got hotspot and location. So yeah, overall, I really like the software on here. There's even some things I like better on what TCL is doing versus my OnePlus 7 Pro. And I know I've just started using this, but so far the software actually seems pretty snappy for having a mid-range processor. Nice thing is they do have full HD on apps like Netflix, and then obviously with YouTube you're going to get 1080p resolution. So my overall first impressions of the LG Stylo 6 is actually pretty good. The new screen size is nice and large. I also like that they made the stylus a little larger as well. And easier to pop in and out. You can tell they tried to improve over the Stylo 5. I gotta say, it is a pretty loud speaker for just being the one. In the camera app, you're gonna get pretty much the same as on the 10 Pro. The shutter on this seems a little bit slower than on the 10 Pro, but they have a cheaper processor. And within the app, you're gonna get pretty much the same setup as on the 10 Pro. Video quality, you can go up to 4K at 30 frames per second. This does have EIS, video stabilization. Photo size can go up to 48 megapixel, depending on which aspect ratio you pick. You can see once you switch it to high megapixel, it does take a little bit longer to process. But if you look at the photos, yeah, these look really good. Now you also have slow-mo, stop motion, light trace, pano, and high pixel. You've got auto mode, video, portrait, super macro, and you've got a pro mode. Up here at the top, you've got a few shortcuts. You've got your settings, aspect ratio, auto HDR, time-lapse, flash settings, and you've also got a ton of different filters to choose from. Here's a few more samples of photos and video, just to give you an idea of what to expect. Now just check out some of these photos. Do you think they look like they're from a $250 phone? To me, they look really good. Plenty of detail when you're talking about the main camera, but not so much when you're on the macro lens. And for some reason, the color is way different than when using the main lens. As you'll see in the last flower photo, that looks a little more red than pink. But overall, I think the camera is just as good as something that you're gonna get from Samsung. Now keep in mind, you only get 4K resolution on the rear facing camera, but 1080p still looks fairly decent. Not quite as good on the front, but still decent for the price. Even though PUBG Mobile uses the lowest graphic settings with medium frame rates, I didn't have any problems while playing and everything seemed to look nice and smooth without any issues. The grass and textures seem to load pretty quick as well, unlike some cheap devices where there'll be like black areas until you get closer and then it turns into grass at the last second. I also tested Asphalt 9 and Call of Duty Mobile without any issues. Call of Duty Mobile actually uses high graphic settings and high frame rates, which actually seems really good for a budget device like this, but I'm guessing that this game is just better optimized than something like PUBG Mobile. Now here's some more game footage just to give you an idea of what it looks like. I tested how long it took to charge the phone, and their estimate is correct, right at about 2.5 hours to go from 0 to 100%. So my first impressions of the TCL 10L is that if you want a budget device for gaming, or if you want one of the few budget devices that actually plays full HD on apps like Netflix, not to mention a camera that is pretty good as well, then it's a no-brainer. This is definitely a good choice for the money you're paying. I think with this being their first budget device under the TCL brand, I can easily see this company becoming a major player in the mobile industry, just how it became one in the TV space. I feel like I'm gonna have to do a comparison video with this phone and some other device. I haven't decided yet, but I'm gonna have to look at what other devices I currently have to see if there's gonna be one comparable. So if you've made it this far into the video, you may want to say thanks by subscribing, and don't forget to give a thumbs up if this video was helpful. This is Brian from Fishbee Productions. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.